Golden State Warriors are undoubtedly the greatest basketball team in the world right now, and depending on who you ask, New York is the greatest city. Well, both collide in this film tonight. It's the weekend before Halloween. It's going to be fun. Let's do this. Speaking of the greatest, Madison Square Garden has to be up there in the conversation for all-time arenas. And Stephen Curry, one of the greatest shooters we've ever seen, currently 5th on the all-time list for three-pointers made. His career high was in this building, 54 points, and his pre-game has become an absolute spectacle, with fans turning up hours before to watch some of the most miraculous shots you've ever seen. So I invite you once again to come along.
It's become a show. It's become something that people come early to the arenas, and the opposing fans, wherever we go, there are always hundreds of people watching him, and consequently, in opposing arenas, half the time you'll see when he starts on a run, like, it's real quiet. I remember that last year in Washington, and it was very, very quiet in the first half, through the first quarter. Maybe he had a couple baskets, not much, and then all of a sudden he erupts because he can go on these runs. When he does this on the road, the people are expecting this, and when he kind of teases them and waits a little bit and starts doing it, they start rooting for him, which in turn they're rooting for the Warriors. So opposing fans actually become fans of the Warriors, and maybe it's subconscious and they're not aware of it, but that's exactly what happens.
I got his wife to sign my jersey too, so.
Delighted to be joined by Howard Beck from Bleacher Report. I must say, what up, Beck, first of all?
What up?
What did you make of Kevin Durant's fourth quarter this evening? What's going through your head when he puts on a performance like that?
About time, maybe. You know, I mean, listen, no disrespect to the Knicks, of course, but this is not a game that you expected to come down to the fourth quarter at all. The Warriors are who they are. The Knicks are just kind of struggling along. They don't have Kristaps Porzingis. They don't even have their highly regarded rookie Kevin Knox, and it's a bit of a ragtag lineup. That they were hanging in that long is kind of the surprise of the night. So just when you're about to say, hey, all right, well, the Knicks, they're hanging tough, they're doing all right, and then you blink and you look back up and, oh, what just happened, you know? But that's the Warriors, and that's what Durant and Curry both are capable of doing at the drop of a hat. And so, you know, nothing surprising there, fun show. And look, you know, for Knicks fans, who I think most people here are resigned to the idea that this is one of those years where, hey, if we lose a bunch and get another lottery pick, we're fine with that. And at the end of it, there's cap room that they're hoping to attract KD to. I think at the end of the night, if you get a loss but also got a good show, they certainly got treated to a good show. I think people probably left, you know, more or less happy.
The slogan on the wall outside is "Make the Knicks Great Again." Do you feel like Durant had a special welcome this evening?
Yeah, the mural, I'm not sure is that persuasive. I'm no great art critic, but I'm not sure the art was that great. The depiction's not particularly accurate. KD's too short, and didn't really look like him. But the Make the Knicks Great Again, listen, somebody presumably will take that cap room next summer. They have room for one max slot to join what they hope will be a healthy Kristaps Porzingis, a developing Kevin Knox, a developing Frank Ntilikina. They hope they have the core of something that's good enough that if you plugged in one top 5 player, top 3 player, top 2, wherever you want to put KD, that boom, they're back in business. That's the hope, that's the plan, that's certainly the hope of Knicks fans. Whether the Knicks really have enough to attract that star, whether it's KD or someone else, I think is an open question. And next summer is going to be very competitive on the free agent market. The Nets just across the bridge, will have 2 max slots available, and they've got some decent young players who can form a core around a couple of stars. The Clippers are going to have potentially 2 max slots. The Lakers, of course, have LeBron and a max slot. So the competition next summer is going to be tough.
Dynasties are hard to sustain. Do you get the sense, we're less than 10 games in, that the Warriors are playing with a feeling that this might be the last show this season?
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting question, right? Like, somewhere maybe in the back of their heads. But I don't. Given that their core guys are all still in their prime, and that it's not a given that Durant is leaving. And even if he did, look, they won a championship before he ever arrived. You know, they made the finals, a couple times before he ever arrived. So they know that what they have at their core, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala, as long as they can keep extending their careers, that core that's been there from the beginning has the potential to still be a contender year in, year out, as long as Curry and Klay and Draymond are in their primes. So I don't think there's any sense of finality or a closing window at this point. If Durant leaves, sure, it will weaken them. They'll go from being super duper team to only super team. They still have 3 All-Stars, including a guy who's won 2 MVPs. And when Durant goes, if that happens, there's cap room that then gets freed up, and maybe you find somebody else to fill in there, or you find other ways to remake the roster around those guys. But again, that core that's been there year in, year out, that has won 3 of the last 4 championships is still around. There are a few other teams that will, they'll close the gap a little bit if Durant's not there, but the Warriors will still be, a phenomenally talented team. So, yeah, I don't get the sense that this is a season where where nostalgia starts to creep in, or a sense of we got to do this while we can. And the thing is, this is the other thing I've learned about the NBA, and you asked about dynasties. Everybody who's ever been part of one of these, whether it's the Shaq and Kobe Lakers who won 3 in a row, or the Bulls of the 90s who won 6 in 8 years, but with 2 very distinctly different casts around Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. When you've been in the league a while and you've achieved that, one of the things you recognize and you start to realize is that these things are not built to last forever. You know that it could be taken away at any given time. One bad injury to someone, or someone, someone leaves in free agency, age creeps in, fatigue, boredom, whatever. It happens. And so I think if you were to go in that locker room and ask these guys, I think they appreciate not just what they've accomplished and how special that is, but that it can be, it can disappear overnight. And every great team is made to be broken up and to be knocked off eventually. And I think the guys who have been around long enough understand that.
It felt a little bit samey last year. The difference this season, DeMarcus Cousins, who got ejected from the game tonight without even playing, which is just exactly what you expect from DeMarcus Cousins. Have you noticed a difference? Because people said he might change the fortunes of this team, just in terms of the chemistry and the spirit.
Yeah. I don't think there's any difference at this stage, other than the fact that they have a teammate being tossed in the middle of a game in which he's not playing and is in street clothes, which it seems like only DeMarcus Cousins can do. I think that when he eventually starts to practice with them and play in games, and we don't know when that will be, and we don't know to what level it will be, how many minutes, what he can handle. Achilles injuries are really tough. And so I don't think anybody should be expecting the old DeMarcus Cousins to just magically reappear in the Warriors lineup. But he will bring a different element, both in terms of his talent and skill set, and yes, his demeanor too. And to the extent that the Warriors have this challenge, and Steve Kerr has spoken about it many times, that the challenge from year to year is to keep things fresh, is to manufacture a different kind of feeling so that you feel like you're chasing something new, even though it's the same 82-game grind and the same drive for 16 wins in the postseason. You find ways to reinvigorate your guys, and that is an incredible challenge when you've been to 4 straight finals and when you're trying to get to a 5th, which no team has done since the 60s Celtics. So if Cousins brings a different element, a different chemistry, a different demeanor, different snarl, once he's playing, then we'll know whether that's kind of given them a different kind of feeling and edge. But right now, while he's just rehabbing and is just kind of present but not engaged, it's hard to say how it actually helps, hurts, or affects them at all.
What changes with players when they come and play in this arena?
Those who have a real appreciation for history and the importance and the symbolic value of this arena, and that's most of them, by the way. That's most NBA players, when they come here, understand and have a certain reverence for this place. What happens to them? They want to put on a show. That's what happens. And some do it very well. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James have put on some incredible shows in this arena as visiting players. And the funny thing about it is, and the Stars know this too, even though this arena is obviously staunchly, emphatically cheering for the Knicks, they love Stars and they appreciate the Stars, and certain Stars more than others, by the way, like maybe not across the board. But when Kobe's putting on a show in this arena, as he has over the years, they're still rooting for the Knicks to win, but they're cheering all of Kobe's theatrics. And they did the same for LeBron. You could hear it in the arena tonight for KD. And I don't think it's just because they want him to come play here for their team. I think it's just this crowd has always appreciated the greats. And so I think for all those reasons, playing to the crowd, playing to the atmosphere, and just knowing that Madison Square Garden is special. Everybody plays to that. They want to put on that big show, and obviously KD certainly rose to that challenge tonight.
Last question, if the Golden State Warriors win another championship this year, that's 4 in 5 seasons, where do they rank in your all-time team rankings?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that we all bat around. I'm not sure. I've never been sure how to stack up the historical comparisons, whether it's players of different eras, teams of different eras. The game changes so much. It's hard to compare, but 4 in 5 years, look, the only thing that's come close to that is the Bulls going 6 and 8 years. The Shaq and Kobe Lakers won 3 in a row, then lost in the finals 2 years later, and then, Kobe finally gets back to the finals a few years after that. And so, the Lakers end up winning 5 over however many years that was, but it was different teams, around Kobe. Shaq was gone, obviously. 4 in 5 years is incredible. Just going to 5 in a row is incredible. So if they do it, if they win a 4th in 5 years, I would put them up next to any teams of the modern era, whether that's the modern Lakers, the Bulls of the 90s, the Lakers and Celtics of the 80s. This team will stack up with all of them. And the only team that you could say, obviously quite literally would surpass them would be the Celtics of the 60s, who won, 8 in a row. But that was also a league of like 10 teams. And it's so again, it gets back to my premise of why I don't hate the comparisons. I tend to shy away from them because it's just so difficult to compare across eras when the league has changed so dramatically. The size of the league, the rules, the style of the game, the size of the players. It's hard to compare. But 4 in 5 would be an incredible achievement no matter how you slice it.
Howard, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Great basketball town. People love the sport here, and it's always been one of my favorite places to play and to coach. So it's a great vibe, and yeah, be good for everybody. Be good for the league. It'd be good for the city if both of them got it going. And I think right now you've got some interesting things going. I think both teams have great coaches, and they seem to be on the right track in terms of the energy. I love the way Kenny Atkinson and Sean Marks have kind of dealt with the aftermath of the Boston trade, not having any picks, but they've built something that is tangibly resilient and tough. They play hard every night, and that's what we saw from the Knicks, and that's what Fizz is doing. So I think both teams are building foundations, and the whole key, obviously, from there is can you build up your talent base, and so we'll see what happens.
Happy to be joined by Damian Jones. Damian, when did you find out you were going to be the starting center this season?
I know I got hints about it. Mike Brown told me while I was in girls camp in August that it's a spot to lose. So I knew in coming to camp that I had a chance. I wasn't quite sure, but I really before the first preseason game, I kind of knew that things were things were going in that direction. So
Saw you wearing the Kevin Durant shoes last night. Does he hook you up with those?
yeah, I always try to wear his shoes. His shoes feel pretty good, so I always be trying to rock them.
What do we need to know about DAMIAN Jones? Because a lot of people now are asking a lot of questions now that you're in this lineup.
I know that
I did not even notice that.
I'm pretty chill, pretty basic. I don't do much. I just be chilling, play a lot of video games. Just hang around and play at my house.
That was your first game in Madison Square Garden last night. What were your impressions?
Oh, it was pretty dope. The setup is crazy. Just like the whole atmosphere in general is pretty overwhelming. But just being there for the first time was awesome. Something amazing to experience. You've been in the league a couple of seasons now, but it must be very strange playing with so much talent. Just explain to me what it's like being on the floor with so many great players. It's great, they make the game easy. So just playing around those guys, just picking their brains, seeing what they have to say about the game, just trying to move around them. It's great. They can make anything happen on the court, so it's pretty cool. Last question: you faced Jokic, Gobert, Ayton, a couple of others really good, Steven Adams as well. Who was the toughest? Physically wise, Steven Adams, but just playing, straight up like Jokic, because he has a lot of face to his game. So throwing defenders off balance and stuff. From the Barclays Center, delighted to be joined by Jim Barnett from Warriors TV. Jim, what's it been like covering this team over the last 5 seasons?
Well, incredibly different from previous seasons because I've been around for 35 years doing the broadcasting, color commentary for the Warriors. And I remember back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, we went 13 years without a playoff appearance and went through so many different players. But I've always loved the game, and people think, oh, that was terrible, must have been awful. No, I really enjoyed it because every game is different. And now, of course, they've had this incredible run, gone to the finals 4 times in a row, winning 3 of them. They are favored to do it again, and anything less will be a very big disappointment. But those are the expectations, and not only are they great players and great individual players, they play team basketball, they play it the right way, and they're good people. That's the thing about it. At my age, I appreciate good people, and you can't find a better person in any walk of life than Stephen Curry. And so it's just very encouraging to be following a group like that.
What have been some of your favorite moments with Steph?
Oh my gosh, the first few years when he had the ankle injuries, it was really tough on him because I really cared about him. And then when all of a sudden he caught fire, and I remember back in February of 2013 where he got his career high 54 points in the Garden. And of course the 2 MVP years, and he's the only unanimous MVP in the history of the league. And yet he still gets overlooked. But he is so competitive. I see what I see from Stephen Curry. I don't look at certain moments here and there, but certain games, but I see a trend. He gets better every year. He goes to the basket a lot more than he used to. He's not just a 3-point shooter. 3-4 years ago, he could not create his own shot. He had to have help. Now he can create his own shot from behind that 3-point line off the dribble. He works very, very hard. No one works any harder. And so I just respect how he doesn't relax and take things for granted. He knows he has to keep pushing.
And Jim, last question. You've been on the sideline for every Warriors game in this successful period. What's your favorite game been?
I played in the league for 11 years. I've had a lot of great games. I look at sometimes my stat sheets. I've got stat sheets where I scored 38 points. I don't remember the game. And it's the game I played in. Obviously, when they win in the finals, that's a very special thing. But I really can't give you one special game. I like the whole scenario of everything and being involved in it. And I'm at an age where, I'm not living and dying with every game, and I certainly want them to win a championship. They deserve to, but and if they deserve to, they will. So
Klay Thompson scoring 37 in 1 quarter wasn't bad.
That was good, but I actually enjoyed when he scored 60 points in 29 minutes and took 12 dribbles. They are really playing well for this early in the season. I'm going to see how that plays out. They're not going to win 73 games like they did a few years ago, but they're playing much better this year than they were last year.
The Warriors close out their New York road trip here at the Barclays Center, and it must be said right now the Brooklyn Nets have far more potential than the New York Knicks. We haven't seen Kevin Knox yet, but for the Nets, names such as Karis LeVert, Joe Harris and D'Angelo Russell mean there's plenty of upside here in Brooklyn. But having been with the Warriors for the last 4 days, 3 thoughts on this team. First of all, the chemistry. We asked the question about that very thing when Kevin Durant joined the team 2 seasons ago. Well, 2 championships later, there is no sign that that is going away. After he closed out the Knicks at MSG on Friday with 20+ points in the final stanza, we saw the team singing the Fergie National Anthem remix in the locker room after the game. That is a perfect metaphor for their togetherness. And as Jim Barnett told me earlier, no bad guys on this team. They are all very nice people to work with. Secondly, I thought it was very interesting what Howard Beck from Bleacher Report had to say about not getting the sense that this is the last time around for the current Warriors team. A lot of people think Durant will be leaving at the end of this season, but Beck does not have that sense just yet. He also said they will be up there with the greatest teams of all time if they do win a 4th championship in 5 seasons. Hard really to argue with that kind of success. And finally, I know it's early on in the season, but all these teams are trying to compete with the Warriors for a championship. So far, the Boston Celtics struggling to find that chemistry. The Houston Rockets do not look as strong without Luc Mbah-a-Moute and Trevor Ariza. The Lakers, as we know, will be an absolute mixed bag, if not covered more than any team in the league outside of Golden State. I think the most improved teams so far, the Toronto Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks and New Orleans Pelicans. But all 3 of those teams have the same thing in common, a lack of playoff success and a lack of playoff experience. Both of those things cannot be said for the Golden State Warriors. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment below. From Brooklyn, I'll see you next time.